when you're talking about Trump and naive and all that other stuff, bro, you believed in Russia hoax for 3 years with no proof. $35,000 paid by Hillary Clinton. You believed in it. And tens of millions of people believed in it because of selective hearing, because you couldn't stand one guy.
No, because of the media.
Well, but that's also a form of being naive.
Patrick Bet David absolutely annihilated his own co-host here for this ridiculously woke take that he had. This is Patrick Bet David versus Adam Sosnick here on the PBD podcast and the Valuetainment YouTube channel, where Patrick Bet David has to check his co-host Adam for spreading false information and just completely deranged woke information. Let's get into this clip here from the PBD podcast and the Valuetainment YouTube channel.
We always say this, that the independent voter, the independent mind in America is the most important voter in America. So for instance, Ricky, there is 0% chance, you'd vote for a Democrat, yes?
Hell would have to freeze.
Exactly. So, and there's also 0%. Hold on, let me finish my point. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, Poppy.
I'm going to come back to it.
Hold on, Poppy, you get a chance.
All right.
There's also a 0% chance that a far left, BLM guy, whatever, would ever vote for Donald Trump. But where I'm at right now, and maybe this is my message, is to be free from the constraints of your party is a very free feeling. And to be able to kind of be an umpire and call balls and strikes and say, yeah, you kind of fucked up here. Nope, you guys messed up here, that. So today, everyone wants to live in, well, that's my truth. That's my truth. Well, there's the truth, and then there's my truth. So for instance, you said, Ricky, I don't care what you say, I don't care what evidence you show me. I don't care who says what.
I never said that.
Hold on.
That's not what I said.
Hold on. You said, I don't care what evidence you show me.
I never said that.
I will never not believe that 2020 election was not stolen. That's exactly what you said.
No, I said there's nothing you could tell me to convince me.
Exactly.
Because, well, the evidence is there that it was stolen.
Okay, so my point is this. No matter how hard somebody tries, if the Supreme Court,
I don't give a shit about the Supreme Court,
but this is my point, brother, that you don't give a shit.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
If the 6-3 Supreme Court came down and said, by the way, we've looked at everything, Joe Biden is the winner of the 2020 election, you still wouldn't believe him.
Look, let me tell you one thing.
Because you're living my truth.
Hold on, no. Let me tell you one thing. When you come,
truth.
okay, you got to remember. Outside of Pat, and I don't want to make judgments on anybody else, I lived in another country. Mm-hmm. I've seen corruption at its core. I've lived in it. So like, it's very different when you live in a country where, like, I'm going to give you an example. The one that's president right now, he ran against another guy 2 elections ago, and they stole it from him. And as a matter, even during, it's crazy. His name is AMLO. AMLO.
You're talking about in Mexico?
In Mexico. Yeah. The current president of Mexico, during our election, said something's wrong. They had already stolen an election from him. The guy sat there from a different country, looked at everything, he said, that election is rigged. When a person has had a stolen election, he's been running president many times, and finally the president now sits back and says, bro, that's bullshit. From another country, from a country that I come from, we see things from a whole different perspective. That people think like America's like this perfect country where everything's fine, everything's good, and the government's all intact. Bullshit. There's DEA agents and CIA agents in Mexico trading the cartels right now. So it missed me with the whole, the Supreme Court, fuck the Supreme Court. Because
I definitely see where this guy's coming from for sure, and I actually agree with him. It's just, you got to watch what you say around people like Adam and around woke people that are willing to twist your words and turn them against you. You can't say things such as, there's nothing you could tell me that would change my mind that this election has been rigged. You can't say stuff like that, because then they're like, see, I told you they're lunatics. No matter what kind of evidence is provided, they're always going to think a certain way. So you just refrain from using verbiage like that when you're talking to people like Adam. And look, Adam's not the worst of the worst woke, right? I'm not saying that. But people like Adam, people like Destiny, people like David Pakman, when you say things like that, it gives them more ammunition to be like, see, I told you they're part of a cult, no matter what we say. Because, then you're also implying that even if Donald Trump himself comes out and says, hey guys, like, we found new evidence, I was actually wrong, the election wasn't rigged, whatever, then you still wouldn't believe it. And that does make you seem crazy. I know that's not the actual context of it, but that's just how you have to talk to these leftists so that you don't give them any sort of ammunition in debates. And unfortunately, Adam falls into that category too.
Excuse my language. At the end of the day, the reality is this. I've seen corruption at its core. And when you have DEA and CIA agents in Mexico training the cartels, you can't convince me otherwise.
That's fine. But here's my response. And we see what's going on in Brazil right now. We see what's going on in Mexico.
But let me go back. Hold on.
This is fucking America.
No. That's the naive part of you.
No.
That's the naive part of you.
The difference
That's
between...
naive to think that.
Okay. The difference
so
between
naive.
America and the rest of these fucking pura
There's
gente
no
motherfucking
difference.
other countries out there is that we believe in the peaceful transition of power. Now, you can quote me on this and I'll quote Bill Maher. Come 2024, whether Trump gets blown out or not, he will say that he won the election. He will claim that it was rigged. He claimed that 2016 was rigged and he won, dog. So like, since Donald Trump has showed up on the scene,
the Democrats are already,
every election is rigged, fraud, stolen.
What did Hillary Clinton just do?
Prior to that, you know who had the biggest?
Hillary Clinton just came out, 2024 is going to be stolen. It's 2 years from now.
I'm not even worried
She's
about
already
Hillary.
talking about
Trump.
What are you talking about, Trump?
But
Hillary's the one doing it right now in 2024.
The closest election we've ever
He
had.
also did it in 2016. I mean, all the Russia collusion stuff, like it all came out to be false, and it all turned out that three-letter agencies that are supposed to be on the United States side were lying and saying that there was Russia collusion and, you know, basically just playing dumb in certain instances. Wish we could talk about it more, but we literally just can't. They're playing dumb in certain instances, even though very clear information was given to them that, hey, these guys are working with us. They're not actually Russian spies or anything like that. I mean, we already know, guys. Like the three-letter agencies are just so ridiculously corrupt in the United States. And, you know, that was happening back in 2016. That's the earliest really election that I was involved in heavily, that I was really emotionally invested in. So I can't really speak to the elections before that too much. But since 2016, the Democrats have been doing this. So to try to say that Donald Trump is the one that's causing this to happen, it's not the case at all, man. The Democrats have been doing this for the longest time. I think that Donald Trump just says it in more plain English, where Donald Trump is like, yeah, they stole the election. Hillary Clinton and the Democrats and people who are actual politicians before, like they've grown up their entire life trying to be politicians, they say it in a creative way where they're like, oh, he colluded, there's Russia collusion. Whereas Donald Trump's just like, yeah, they stole that shit, you know?
In our history, Al Gore in the state of Florida, when George W. Bush barely won Florida, P.S., who was the governor of Florida at that time?
Bush's
his brother?
Yeah.
Jeb Bush? How about that, dog? He even said, you know what? This thing called America is bigger than me. I will say that you won the election. George W. Bush have it. Peaceful transition of power. Donald Trump does not believe in that. He does not believe in the peaceful transition of power.
Would you believe in it too? When
And
shit
of
got
course,
stolen
he's
from
been
you?
echoing that sentiment for the last 5 years. And of course, you're going to stand with him.
Let me tell you real quick. And I know Pat wants to continue, so there's the last thing I'm going to say. The last thing I'm going to say on this subject. When I tell you that I would never vote Democrat, it's not because of how I feel. It's simply because they do not align with any of my beliefs politically, tax, civil, social, in any way, shape, or form. They do not align with anything that I believe in.
And that's
it has
totally
nothing
fine.
to do with feelings. It has everything to do with me looking at facts. It's the party of slavery. It's the party of Jim Crow. It's the party of the KKK. And they switched to the 1960s because it was no longer popular to be racist. And they switched. LBJ said, I'm going to have these ends voting Democrat for 200 years. So they just switched tactics. Like what he was saying earlier, when this governor or senator said that it was a plantation politics, I 100% believe that's a Democrat party. So therefore, I cannot vote or even fathom the idea of voting for something that I know does not align with what I believe in and the history of the party and who they have been and what they represent and how they destroy everything. The 10 worst cities in the country are run by Democrats. It's so easy to be a Democrat in a Republican state. Try being a Republican in a Democrat state where everything they touch goes to shit. So therefore, I live in it. I live in the shit.
You know what's crazy?
So therefore,
guys?
I can't live like that.
Ricky, you said something. Ron, I want to come to you because in a minute, but I want to say I saw a tweet the other day where a 29-year-old girl says, for 28 years, I've been a Democrat. last year I just became a Republican. She says, it's so funny that for 28 years while I was a Democrat, all my Republican friends were so patient with me.
Yep.
But for 1 year that I've been a Republican, none of my Democratic friends even want to associate with me.
They're not tolerant.
It's so funny that Republicans were so tolerant with me, Democrats were not. Here's the other part, Adam.
Yeah, but
Just
I got to
to-
say that's a bullshit statement.
No, it's not.
Oh my God, man. Adam is unbearable, bro. How is that not a BS statement? I've been saying for the longest time that I think Republicans, but more importantly, I think Christian Americans need to stop being so forgiving and so like lenient and stop taking disrespect, you know? And I think they've done a pretty good job. Recently, you know, a lot of Christians have been really standing up for themselves and their faith and everything like that. But no doubt about it, Republicans are a lot more welcoming. They're a lot more forgiving. They're a lot more lenient in who they'll accept in. Like, they accept Joe Rogan and with open arms. Guys, Joe Rogan is not even close to a Republican. You know, for me, I disagree hardcore with a lot of things that Joe Rogan, especially the abortion topic. I just think abortion should be banned nationally. You know that already if you watch my channel. I just think it should be just banned. Just why does it exist? Why do we get to kill babies, and why is it even a talking point? Doesn't make sense to me. But regardless, Joe Rogan and these people, you know, Russell Brand, everybody's welcomed in with open arms. And then you have the left wing with Joy Reid and these people on MSNBC, these people that Patrick Bet-David's talking about here, that will say, cut your family off. If they don't agree with you, if they voted for Donald Trump, don't go to Thanksgiving with them, or don't allow them to your Thanksgiving or whatever. There's only one side doing that stuff, man. To try and say that the left is tolerant or that the right wing is not tolerant in comparison to the left, so ridiculous. And it's so funny because it's absolutely so ironic, and it's so crazy how insane one side of America is, that they are doing all of this in the name of being tolerant. They're doing all of this because they think they are being massively tolerant by doing it. It doesn't make any sense, man. It blows my mind. Let's see what Adam has to say in response.
Because I've lived that life. Go ahead.
Let me say the other part. The other part is also the following. When you're talking about Trump and naive and all that other stuff, bro, you believed in Russia hoax for 3 years with no proof. $35,000 paid by Hillary Clinton. You believed in it. And tens of millions of people believed in it because of selective hearing, because you couldn't stand one guy.
No, because of the media.
But that's also a form of being naive, because you chose
No,
to.
it's Trump derangement syndrome, man. These people cannot. All common sense goes out the window. If you don't like Donald Trump, for whatever reason, he has so much real estate in all of these woke idiots' heads that if you don't like Donald Trump, whenever he is brought into a situation or a conversation, all common sense and all sensible thought goes out the window, and people just lose their minds and will believe anything that people tell them to believe. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Patrick Bet-David shutting down his co-host Adam for these ridiculously woke statements that he's making here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Patrick Bet-David versus his co-host here on the PBD podcast and the Valuetainment YouTube channel.